Hello out there. Sitting around, going through some books, putting things up, dragging things out, and I ran across these, and I was like, let's just shoot this for fun. So what we have here is to be number one of a two-issue series that came out in, I don't know, 1987, as you can see here. I feel like it was January of 87, and this was in the midst of DC doing some great things. They had the license for Star Trek. They had a series of books come out that were also reference material, encyclopedic in nature, where they were doing their superheroes to where you were getting the history, brief powers and abilities, first appearances. And in the midst of all this, they came out with two issues of a who's who in Star Trek. This is the first issue that I actually had off the shelf. I've had this since it came out. It was $1.50. Has this fantastic wraparound Howard Chaykin cover, as you can see. And these reference books goes through the original series, the Filmation series, some novels, the first four Star Trek movies, Star Trek The Motion Picture, Wrath of Khan, Search for Spock, and oh my goodness, the fourth one was about the whales. I can't believe I'm going blank on that one. Anyway, so I found the first one on the rack, and of course, being unpredictable in the 80s with the spinner racks and everything, what I always assumed is I never found the second one till a couple years later, because Star Trek fans were probably grabbing these when they saw them. So years later, I would overcompensate by picking up a couple as I ran across them, and one came with something extra. So as you can always tell when I say newsstand, it has a UPC symbol for you to know that the newsstand. And one of the subtle differences is that this one was in comic book shops from the lack of a UPC symbol. But you can also see that the numbering and the price, I don't know what we'd call that, the little box here, you can see the difference. The newsstand is plain and simple. These were $1.50 back in 87. This date here, March 87, that is not when it came out. This was to tell the retailer when to take them off the stand, and you usually had about a 2-month window. So this came out in January of 87. A lot of people get that wrong on there. But as you can see, it's also different for the comic book shops. It even has a UK pricing on it. So anyway, what's inside of this? We'll just flip pretty quick through this. But you get a little bit of an editorial from the editor talking about where everything I kind of told you and why they did this. You would get alphabetical order, the organizations, the characters, the alien races, if you will. We started out with the Andorians. And then with the first appearance, what made this unique is that in some of these, you will see an issue number, like Star Trek, a comic book, number 5 or something. And then, but in these, where there's so much material that they're pulling from, TV shows, the cartoons and everything, you just get a title of an episode. So the first appearance of this one is just Journey to Babel. They do not tell you if it's the original series or anything. And then we have a plethora of artists that come in here and are doing this. This is a writer. This particular page is an artist, Mike Clark, and the inker, Carl Kessel. And let me see here, the credits. Where's the researcher? Here is the guy that researched a lot of this, Alan Asherman, which I thought was fantastic. So, yeah, a lot of work and a lot of fun in this, and it's pretty simple. There's other references books like the official handbook to the Marvel Universe, where everybody got 2 pages in the second go-around with that, with the deluxe edition. They keep this pretty simple, and then we have artists kind of matched up with characters that make sense. This is Apollo. His first appearance, of course, was, where we got here? Where's his first appearance here? Occupation, base of operations. Who mourns for Adonis, right? I should have known that off the top of my head. So this is Apollo, and I think one of the reasons he had this Greek god themed episode here is because he was doing Wonder Woman at the time. So basically, if you are a Trekkie, this is either going to be very cool, or this is going to be the kind of thing that you read and it drives you nuts, you know. But I was excited about the Filmation stuff. As a kid, I would see Star Trek on reruns on Sundays. We had Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon had already been around for several years by the time we had cable in our town, and Nickelodeon was sort of winding down on the Filmation series from the 70s, so I was glad to see some of these characters. The series came out when I was actually born. And then we had superstar artist at the time, John Byrne, coming in with some of these, he did quite a few things in here. This is from the DC comic that they had in the early 80s, Star Trek #1, Bear Claw. And as we go through here, you can kind of see Nurse Chapel is in here, Chekhov, and the likenesses are well done. This was one of my favorite episodes, the Court Martial, because I kind of feel like this guy now. This was a lawyer for Kirk in that episode, and he had a room full of law books. He just didn't do their little discs or whatever they were called. And I can hear hardcore Trekkie fans yelling at me what they were. So yeah, this is this great synopsis to kind of catch you up. That was just cheap and fun. Here's from the Star Trek the Motion Picture, Deckard, and yeah, where no man has gone before. I mean, I'm seeing these and I'm going back and thinking about them. The Lasians, the Deltans. Now, this stuff was the stuff that I was really interested in from being just sort of a casual viewer. I consider Star Trek The Wrath of Khan, the actual movie, I consider that a film, not just a great Star Trek movie, but one of the greatest movies ever made. Just how fantastic it is. So anyway, a lot of expansion, a lot of little references. Just great stuff here. The Gorns still kind of cracks me up. They're treated with respect. Yeah, this was a great episode here. The Empath, old Bones McCoy, what's kind of cool is that I think this was Joan Collins. I don't know who played her. Maybe I should keep my trivia down because I'm doing this on the fly. The Guardians of Forever, Over the City on the Edge of Forever, one of the greatest episodes of all time. The Devil in the Dark, of course, John Byrne. Somebody got paid to actually draw a heap. Oh man, but anyway, this was this great Cyrano Jones with the Tribbles, the Iosians with their gangster life. Like I said, I think this just brings back a lot of nostalgia, and it's just really cool. And of course, here we go, Khan. There we go. John Byrne got a hold of that one. And wouldn't he be, I like how in alphabetical order, Khan comes right beside James Tiberian Kirk here. So that's just fantastic. And it looks like Kirk got several pages and drawn by the great Tom Sutton. That's great. The Klingons, they go willing to just look at this. Considering that Star Trek was, barely over 20 years old at this time, this is still a lot to research. But anyway, look at this. This is just great stuff. Let's just move through this, get to the second issue. Look at that. That's a Gray Morrow. I recognize this artist right away. And then, of course, we have Kirk's son here. What happened to him? Yeah, Gray Morrow got to do old Bones McCoy. I never really got enough of him. And, of course, there's an appendix in the back here. We'll get into that. So let's get to, this is just a brief summary. So here's the two that I bought. And what's really great about this one, of course, besides the great wraparound covers that come with this, is that this was a true fan, because this particular issue, when I bought it, somebody I keep meaning to try to look this person up on Facebook, but somebody got on here and did their own fan art and research, Warp 8.9. They actually have that's just great. I love this stuff. Did their own little research. Ship separates to sections. U.S. Enterprise NCC 1701E. So I'm wondering if that's the next generation. Maybe he was trying to do updates. This is just fantastic stuff. But this is a passion project for whoever did this. Richard Medina is who did this. So I mean, that is just great stuff to find in a comic book. I've bought secondhand books at Goodwills and stuff, and I've found old plane tickets going from Charlotte, North Carolina to Roanoke, Virginia, and things like that. So just to finish this out, this is a beat up one, but like I said, this disappeared off the racks when it came out. Same team, same editorials, and of course, like I said, just a plethora of artists that come in here and all just some great material here. Michael Bayer, I remember this episode. Karak, the Mirror Universe. I feel like that should have had a bigger section, to be honest with you. Okay. Gary Mitchell, Where No Man Has Gone Before. Yeah, more of the Filmation series with the Empress. Now, that was what was really cool about the Filmation cartoon, is that it had a lot more alien species in there on the bridge and stuff, right? We got The Great Hairy Mud by John Byrne and Terry Austin. That's a classic team. The original number 1. I haven't watched too much of the Paramount Plus stuff, but I know they've expanded her on the Strange New Worlds. That's actually the only series I can kind of handle right now in the present. My Star Trek, I could watch the Next Generation over and over and over. I have a few DVD sets. I have 2 out of the 3 DVD sets of the original series. They were, like I said, whenever they're on, we just stopped and I would watch. They would come on at 5 o'clock in the afternoon after I got home from school and watched He-Man. They would be on in the 80s at 5 o'clock for a while. Never figured out why they took them off, because they had huge ratings. In the days of syndication, when the news reported ratings, that was amazing. It made the local news for the TV station that ran those. Red Jack, that was an extra. Yeah, Wolf in the Fold. Now that was a fantastic episode. The Romulans. That's some great stuff. The Romulans got a bigger section than the Mirror Universe, so that's interesting. There's Savick. They didn't go with the Kirstie Alley version there. Scott Montgomery. Oh, Scotty. Sarek. John Byrne. Gray Morrow once again. Gary Seven. I would have loved for this to have been a show. There is a series of audiobooks I found on YouTube that apparently was like the Rise of the Wrath of Khan or something like that, and Gary Seven was involved, going by memory here. I listened to those years ago. Of course, we have Spock. Tom Sutton also get to do that. Spock gets quite a section. Star bases, the history of Starfleet, how they run, the starships, the Academy. Yeah, and there we go. We have Sulu there. Oh my. The Serac with its, what is this from? Star Trek number 16. That's from the comic. I wonder why I didn't recognize that. Todd McFarlane. And Talasians. The Tribbles. Triskalans. Uhura. Gandarusa. United Federation of Planets. Quite the history here. The Vulcans. The Vina Vians. Yeah. And then we have the symbols. Now, I found this absolutely fascinating, to where when I would watch the movies and the shows, I would actually be looking for the ranks and stuff and the symbols. Ensign first class, all the way up to Admiral. The jackets, environmental jackets. But anyway, just a quick little video for you Trekkie fans or sci-fi fans or curious people who are going to be discovering Star Trek for the first time. Thanks for popping in, and have an excellent day. Live long and prosper.